Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Perez.
And I'm Wesley Long.
And we're bringing you a fresh new take on disaster preparedness.
Welcome to Disaster Class.
So previously on Disaster Class, we were listening to an interview on EM Weekly with Wesley and myself. And so here we are. Get ready for part 2.
What's a tool? I think I asked Wesley this, but what's a tool you always have with you, Jason, in your experience as a paramedic?
I have you're a Gerber guy. I'm a Leatherman guy. So
Yeah.
I have my my Leatherman Skeletal. At work, I have my Leatherman Raptor trauma shears. I love those things.
See, they're so
actually,
cool, but I was always worried I'd get them like covered in stuff, and then I'm like not gonna want to use them, or they're gonna get all like gummed up and gross.
Oh, I bleach them regularly. Yeah,
yeah, but they're nice and rugged,
but
enough
they're
where
nice.
You can like sanitize them, and they'll be okay.
So the coolest thing, it was maybe a year or two ago. Those Leatherman Raptors actually have a ring cutter on them.
Yeah.
And I was so excited when, like, 2 years ago, I actually got to use the ring cutter, and it worked.
And it worked well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, first, if for like a gold or silver, you could, easily do it. But anything, it went right through it. I was actually really impressed.
This feels like an ad for Leatherman.
Listen, I'm a Gerber guy, so you take. No, I'm all right. I'm down for whatever good tool. I have a mixture of stuff. So here's another perfect example. Like everyone goes out and buys these like insanely expensive like hunting knives and stuff like for camp, like they get these really really expensive camp knives. I think it's
I'm a big K-Bar fan.
Makarov. It's like this Swedish company. They're like $20. It's good steel. I have beat the snot out of this knife.
Mora knife.
Yeah. And what is it?
Mora knife. Yep.
Oh God, I said it all wrong. I'm embarrassed.
And candy grind. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. And I have bought these for all of my friends. That's like the Christmas gifts. I get that. A ThermoPro grill thermometer, instant thermometer. That's the secret to being a good barbecue chef, by the way. It's literally just
always
a thermometer.
Know the heat.
And then these little trays that are magnet trays, so that when you're taking stuff apart, you can put like the screws in there and they stay in it, and you can like stick it upside down. But those knives are great. They hold up really well, and they're cheap. So if you lose it, who cares?
Yeah, you're not heartbroken. Yeah, like I'm a K-Bar guy too. But like I've got my Vector
K-Bar.
K7, but I mean that's $100 knife.
Yeah, I know. It's you get these. That's the thing. Like I'm almost like tender with the knives I know can survive, and then like I use the knives and I'm like, this is questionable. I didn't spend a lot of money on it. But, who cares? I'll beat the crap out of it. And the one that has held up is the Mora knife that I now know and have embarrassingly been saying incorrectly for probably about 5 years now. So apologies to Mora knife. So the other thing you guys do is podcasting. You run the Disaster Class. And I'm curious to know how you got into podcasting, why you're podcasting, and how you've used it as sort of a tool.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to our mission, just as from Instinct Ready.
Yep.
And our mission is to educate, prepare, and equip our communities, and specifically individuals, households, and families for disasters. And so what we're doing is, there's a lot of resources out there for emergency management, right? We go through these high level processes and things, and planning, training, and exercise. Risk assessments and all that stuff. And so what we're doing is we're taking these very basic fundamental EM principles and we're condensing it down into a format that's palatable for the everyday person. So we have, it all kind of started, we have our community emergency planning course that we developed, and we've been teaching it for upwards of 6-7 years, somewhere like that, different versions of it. And so what we actually do with this community training is actually teach people. The first module is, helping them to identify and assess their personal vulnerability and risk. And so we teach them how to do a very basic household risk assessment.
Yeah.
Getting to know, what are the hazards in your area? And then we teach them how to go ahead and put together a family emergency action plan, and then assess and then assemble a disaster kit. So we go over what should be in a go bag, like everything we talk about, that minimum survival standard, we go through all that. What should be in your go bag? What should be in your shelter in place kit? And we go through all that. So the disaster class kind of has a similar mission. We're trying to take these EM principles and get the everyday person, a person just interested and knowing how to do some of these things, because we believe that in this kind of grassroots, ground up approach, that our communities are just everyday people they are better prepared, then we're going to be just more resilient as a nation and as our communities. So if we can get to the people, it's just going to spread.
Yep.
Yeah. I also, interestingly, and I think I was actually talking to John about this morning, is being an emergency manager can feel alone. Honestly, like most shops, you're either doing it as a volunteer or you're like a one-person shop. And, one of the things I found when I first got into emergency management, which was almost 12 years ago, was that I was like, where's my community? Like, as a firefighter and an EMT, you can walk in any firehouse in the country and you're like, they welcome you right in. Like, you're part of the family. When you're emergency management, they work in EOCs. The buildings are usually secure. The only time you often see them is like during conferences and preparedness month, which I'm also gonna say here, like, get out from behind your desk as emergency managers. Like, go out and be amongst your people. And I know there's a lot of people who are doing that, but I know there's also a lot who aren't. And it's really important to sort of like have a community. So the podcasting, I think, also sort of helps when you're in that remote area and you don't know any other emergency managers locally and you're trying to feel like you're a part of it. So your approach is a little bit different. I guess you kind of like have like a lesson for I know not specifically, I'm not trying to like just play on the puns here, because disaster class is not session. They have this the catchphrase classes in session.
No, we do. We go into it with, like an agenda. We have a specific, concept that we're trying to teach. And usually the most we can do in the short time we have someone's attention is really just do an introduction, right? Like Jason talked about, our class is a 3-hour class. And that has developed over time. Initially, it was a 1-hour class. We were like, we don't want to bug people for too much longer than an hour. And we did the class, and consistently we're asking people for feedback. We always want that feedback loop. How can we do better? How can we do better? And consistently what we heard when the class was an hour was, we wish there was more class. Yeah. Like, we wish it was longer. And we were like, wow, who takes a class and then asks for more class? Like, that's rare. So we thought we had something. So now we've made it much more robust. It's out to a 3-hour class. So when we go through these concepts in disaster class on the podcast, we're really just given a snippet. It's just a little tidbit, whet the appetite. You want more? Come take the class. It's available online on our website, self-paced study course. You just go through the modules in your own time. Yeah. We give you a pre-test, a post-test. You pass that, we're actually going to send you a certification, so you know that you know what you know, right? So we're having fun with disaster class.
And what we have found too is like the people actually, they really, when they learn these things, they really grab onto it. They really love learning these concepts, and it helps give them a little bit more peace of mind, because they're like, oh, I know what to do now. Yep. And so one of the things that we do is we make our class available to emergency managers in various jurisdictions. So what we'll do is we'll actually come out and we'll provide you the curriculum. We can come in and do classes for your community. So if an emergency manager wants to actually tap into that and get their community more prepared, we can work directly with these agencies to help now provide this as a community outreach, so they can engage their people and their constituents. And then we can also actually customize our curriculum to their specific jurisdiction. So when we go, like, one of the things we go over, like alerts, like emergency alerts. And so now we can talk specifically about, okay, what are some of the things in your respective jurisdictions that they can actually tap into? And so it's now bridging the gap between the community and their emergency management.
Right.
All right, everyone. So we're going to pause real quick for this week's sponsors.
When you need an emergency plan, you need Doberman Emergency Management. Whether you are buying a home and want to know about your local hazards, or you are a professional needing additional support, Doberman Emergency Management can help. Visit DobermanEMG.com today to learn more.
Instinct Ready is here to help educate, prepare, and equip you for disasters. Everything from disaster preparedness education to quality survival products. Use promo code DISASTERClass at instinctready.com today for 10% off site-wide, because preparedness starts at home. All right, let's head back to the show.
No, it's really interesting. Yeah. And then the podcast, just being able to keep their attention between stuff. I imagine a lot of people that attend the classes probably listen. And I know so Nat, who you guys had on your podcast today, Nat Sellers, the preparedness guy, one of the things I think when I talked to him about sort of because he does a lot of social media stuff. He just started podcasting. He's doing the Preparedness Works podcast, which is really good. He's got like a very soothing voice. It's like this calming, which is sort of funny because when you watch his like Instagram stuff, it's like all like, memes and like joking around and
he's hilarious.
Yeah. And then you like talk to him, you're like, oh dude, you're like an NPR guy. Like, I just want to like listen, like have you read a recipe to me so I can relax.
By the fireplace.
I think it was the same thing. He was sort of talking about like just trying to find that community. Podcasting helped he's not doing the web stuff, but that dude is another interesting. He's just like all over the place. He did this like the survival video game thing with Gameology, which was amazing.
Oh yeah. I saw that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Very cool. I think this is the other thing that's hard about emergency management is like we've kind of want to do lots of stuff but are kind of told to stay in our lane, and so for the longest time it was like you couldn't talk about a lot of this stuff or like I don't know, like there was just this weird thing, like we didn't have sort of a voice and now we do. And so I'm curious to think, like, do you feel like there is a culture that's now building for emergency management? Because, like, again, fire departments have been around for, literally the start of the U.S. And so there's, 200 plus years of tradition built around that. Emergency management, depending on which era of emergency management you're referencing, started maybe during the Cold War, like civil defense type stuff. Then it was like more of the all hazards after Andrew. Then it was Homeland Security after 9/11, and then Katrina happened, and you kind of turned course again. And now we've got climate change. So we're like, it's kind of like hard to figure out what it is that we do and what how we sort of exist as a community. And so these podcasts and social media stuff is starting that. I'm also curious to, are there other ways that I think you guys are maybe thinking about trying to reach that crowd and like expand the message and like build that community? Because like you guys are teaching like a lot of stuff. Like it's, like your podcast is sort of built around that, but you're also like two people who live this life. And so it's interesting to listen to the podcast and then hear your background on that. But like what other kind of stuff do you guys want to do in the future to like expand your message, I guess, and like build that community so that more people can participate?
Yeah,
I hit like a lot. I went all over the place with that question. So
but I think it's a great question.
The next 20 to 30 minutes, please respond to my very long, arduous journey of a question.
I got you, man. I got you, Zach. So one of the things we do in our community emergency planning class is it's two things that touches on two things that you mentioned. One is we are starting to identify individuals that have a bent for understanding hazard, identification and risk assessment. And a lot of times we have those conversations with people in that class. It's like, well, if you found this interesting and you haven't quite figured out what you want to do, like for a career, this might be something you want to do.
Yeah.
Because part of what we do when we put on the classes, we are looking for other people who are super into it and then want to become an instructor. And we just had someone, right, who took our class, and Jason will talk about it. His name is also Jason. Took our class, was pumped up about our class. And we were like, whoa, you are like super into this. And he just stuck with us.
Yeah.
He just started consuming our curriculum, and he just taught his first class to about 30 or 40 people using our curriculum. So we feel like that's also part of our give back, right?
Yeah.
As we go around and we're entering communities and we're training these individuals how to think these things, even from a blue collar approach, we're picking up individuals that want to now further that message.
Yeah.
And we're giving them the tools based on what we have to be able to do that, and a platform to be able to do that.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're kind of along those lines is developing an instructor training program. And so what we're trying to do is build a similar model to like the American Heart Association, that, you know, they create the curriculums, all the resources, and then they have all these instructors, and, you know, anyone can basically go take a class to become an instructor and help teach CPR and first aid. And so we're trying to do that too, creating now an instructor network where if somebody who really likes the class, they like the curriculum, and they want to start teaching on their own, we can get them trained up as an instructor, get them set up with the curriculum, and so they can start hosting their own classes. Because we realize we're just two people,
we're only two people,
and we can't reach everybody. So if we can help others to kind of join the team and become an instructor and start taking the curriculum elsewhere, you know, we're going to try and do that as well.
Right. So there's a little plug, right? Because your EM Weekly, you're focused more with emergency managers. So a lot of the people that listen to your podcast are emergency managers. Well, we challenge you, reach out to us on Disaster Class, come join the team. Wherever you're listening from or watching from, come join the team.
Yeah, because if you are listening to this
and they like it,
listening to emergency management podcasts, like, it is still pretty niche. Like, it's not like there's a whole lot of them out there. And so again, like this is why I think the medium is really cool. It's just like building that community. But yeah, for you guys to do it, take it and sort of like expand onto it into classes and everything else, I think makes it even better. I do suggest, like, if you are, I mean, when I was an emergency manager in higher ed and stuff, like, I have all the aspirations to do all these courses and all this other stuff that I wanted to do all the time, but you're always up against the clock, right? There's just not enough time, not enough energy. And so having a resource like, you know, Instinct Ready, and even just honestly, like podcasts, like one of the things I've heard is that a lot of, emergency management courses and stuff are actually using some podcast material and stuff to, share for like homework, so that there's like, you know, familiarization with the field and what people are talking about. But yeah, that's a really good plug, to get, you know, you all involved, especially if you're a single person shopper. You just don't have the time and energy to do it, or bandwidth. You know, you hire out for other stuff. Why not help with your readiness training? And your stuff is geared towards, specifically like the lay user, correct? Like people who maybe don't have a background in it and they're starting from scratch.
Yeah. Our motto is preparedness starts at home. So that's what we're targeting first.
That's awesome.
And so the podcast is really like an introduction to all this. And then our community emergency planning class is like the real hands-on, more in-depth study. And like I said, Zach, you know, a lot of some of these jurisdictions, they're a one-man show, the emergency management. And so that's where we kind of, we're there to kind of help assist. Community education is something that's needed everywhere across the, you know, across the nation. And so we're there to be able to assist our emergency managers to be able to tap their communities and get their communities better educated and better equipped.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so they can find us at instinctready.com, or they can send us an email at info@instinctready.com. Me and Wesley are pretty big on LinkedIn too, so you can reach out to us on LinkedIn. All our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we're all there.
No, I mean physically, where can we find you right now?
Well, you can come to New York and find us.
Our
Neptune Road
is in Poughkeepsie.
Yep. Yeah. Well, all right. What's the best pizza joint in Poughkeepsie? I know we're Danbury. What's the best pizza joint in Poughkeepsie?
Ooh,
I mean, this is going to start a fight, isn't it?
No, I'm pretty partial to Nona's.
Nona's is really good. I do like Nona's.
Nona's is really good.
Yeah, and Wappingers Falls.
Yeah, Nona's is really good. Shout out to Nona's.
All right, so Nona's.
We order there pretty regularly because they deliver to the shop.
Oh,
yeah. We also have our famous Poughkeepsie landmark, Rossi's Deli.
Oh, yeah.
Rossi's Deli. And that's not pizza, but Rossi's Deli. Yep.
Good Italian food.
You gotta hit it up. Yeah, I think I've had Rossi's before. I used to have family in Poughkeepsie. Yeah. What was the place in Danbury? The pizza place in Danbury?
Oh, mine is Michelangelo's. Exit 4.
Exit 4.
Yep.
All right.
The mall is exit 3. Exit 4 is.
Don't get off at the mall. You got to go to the next exit. It's exit 4.
That's it. Past the mall. Boom. Next exit. Michelangelo's.
Which direction? So you get off exit 4. Then where do you go?
Oh man, you are like really into this. Wow. Okay, you get off.
He's gonna jump in a car after this, and
like
I'm recording while I'm driving. Okay, I'm on my way. I heard lasagna pizza, and I started driving about a half hour ago, so I'm on my way.
You get off the exit for exit 4. When you get to the light, you're gonna take a left. And you're going to go by the AAA building.
All right.
The AAA building. And then it's maybe a half mile up on the left.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, then I'll meet you there in a couple hours. We'll get a giant lasagna pizza on a Sicilian pie. bring down some deli snacks, from Poughkeepsie,
Yes.
and we're gonna have a great time.
do
And then
it.
also bring down some nutrient survival snacks.
Yes,
as well.
I do want to try some of those, Zach. So
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna hook up
okay.
I'll
Let's
screenshot your address from the sticker before.
Yeah.
and come find.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even get they got all this there's coffee, which I can't. I'm really excited about. I'm a caffeine. I mean, again, I'm sure you guys are. EMS.
Go ahead.
Oh
No, you
yeah.
go.
I'm a big coffee person.
He loves coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like coffee, Wesley?
Yeah, I'm a caffeine head. Yep.
Oh.
Our shop consistently smells like coffee.
Okay, that's good. Yeah,
We've got an espresso right here.
We got an espresso machine too. I'm like, I was like, this is excessive, and then we got it as it was the family gift for my wife and I last year. Everyone chipped in, and we got this espresso machine. I'm a real snob.
Oh, yeah.
Unpleasant to be around. I'll drink any coffee. I grew up on Firehouse coffee, which is disgusting.
Right.
It's like whatever the cheapest thing is. Although I've noticed a lot of firehouses now are getting pretty swanky with their coffee. And
they are.
I'm like,
at least they got a Keurig.
Yeah,
or something.
I visited one of my buddies' firehouse. I'm like, that's real coffee. What is happening? You guys, this is getting too soft. You can't get comfortable. You gotta struggle. I did, so that you have to, right?
You gotta struggle. It's not a sacrifice unless it's a sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly. All right, gentlemen. Well, I appreciate having you on. I know we were a little bit over. All over the place. The food thing is something that I think people don't really think about survival. Just trying to, they're either assume food's going to be there, someone's going to show up from the government and feed them, or they're like, I'm just going to grab a bunch of snacks out of the, pantry on the way out. But very interesting talk. We now know specifically where Michelangelo's is off exit 4. So make sure you check that out. And we will talk to you guys later, and everyone should check out. All right, so that concludes this episode of Disaster Class. Be sure to tune in next week. As always, there's homework. Make sure that you subscribe, give us that thumbs up, that 5-star rating. Send us a question if you have any. If you have a question, if you have a disaster story to share, a survival tip, send us an email at disasterclass@instinctready.com. And doing so will always put you in the running to be featured on the show and win some cool stuff. But as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay educated, stay prepared, stay equipped. Class dismissed. Disaster Class is part of the Readiness Lab, the home for podcasts, webinars, and training in the field of emergency and disaster services.